Let me read to you a passage from the 6th chapter of St. Mark's Gospel, verses 1 to 6. It's the Gospel for Wednesday of the 4th week in Ordinary Time. St. Mark writes, Jesus left there and went to his hometown, accompanied by his disciples. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were amazed. "Where did the man get these things?" they asked. "What's this wisdom that has been given to him, that he even does miracles? Isn't this the carpenter? Isn't this Mary's son, and the brother of James and Joseph, Judas and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us?" And they took offense at him. Jesus said to them, "Only in his hometown, among his relatives, and in his own house, is a prophet without honor." He could not do any miracles there except lay his hands on a few sick people and heal them. And he was amazed at their lack of faith. That's from Mark chapter 6 verses 1 to 6 for Wednesday of the 4th week in Ordinary Time. What does it suggest to us? Well, it tells us about honoring Jesus. It is chapter 6 of the Gospel of St. Mark that we are in. In other words, we are well into our Lord's public ministry with the manifestations of his holiness, his authority, and the power that this involved. And our Lord returns to his beloved hometown. I say beloved hometown because that is just what it must have been for him. It is the town where he grew up, where he learnt so much from his holy parents, where his relatives were, and where he had spent the overwhelming portion of his young life. His human roots were at Nazareth. He had returned to reveal much more to them of who he really was, and of the saving blessings he was able to offer. I suspect that he left his return to Nazareth to a point well into his public ministry, so as to give his own townsmen a chance to hear of his prophetic work and exploits as they were occurring elsewhere. In this way, they might be prepared and more disposed for the revelation he would give them when he himself returned. They would have the chance for it to dawn on them that he must be much more than they had hitherto thought. Let us conjecture his return, accompanied by his disciples. It may have been something of a sensation, our Lord entering his old haunts, now surrounded by his disciples. Let us imagine our Lord walking through the settlement to his mother's dwelling as she awaited and then received him. Imagine her with her son, surrounded by his disciples. Imagine them entering the small dwelling as she made them welcome and provided them with simple refreshments. That day, perhaps they moved around Nazareth, looking for accommodation for the period they would be there with their master. And then on the Sabbath day, he addressed the synagogue. We read that many who heard him were amazed. "Where did this man get these things?" they asked. "What's this wisdom that has been given to him, that he even does miracles? Is not this the carpenter? Is not this Mary's son, and the brother of James and Joseph, Judas and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us?" Our Lord did not succeed with his own. In a sense, they were too used to him. Worse, they took offense at him. They could not get beyond their impression and attitude formed all those years with him as he grew up and lived with them as the carpenter builder of the town. As a result, they missed the true reality of Jesus of Nazareth. Our Lord understood quite clearly what had happened. As we read, Jesus said to them, "Only in his hometown, among his relatives, and in his own house is a prophet without honor." He was, however, amazed at their lack of faith. Now, this lamentable situation can be found beyond the people of Nazareth and in the hearts and minds of those who allow themselves to get very used to Jesus of Nazareth. those who grow up in the faith, those who live with the faith on a daily basis, can slowly take Jesus Christ very much for granted. We can gradually cease to honour him in our hearts as we should. We can become mere acquaintances of Jesus Christ, very familiar with the notion and the image of him, but failing on a regular basis to do him the honour that his unique and exalted person deserves. In fact, this is a common temptation. We can become like those of his own house, who regard him without honour. This deterioration is expressed in the old adage, familiarity breeds contempt. There are in fact considerable numbers of Christians who do not live their faith in such a way that Jesus Christ is honoured. Let us be reminded of the seriousness of this, even if only for the reason that, as we read, he could not do any miracles there because, except lay his hands on a few sick people and heal them, because of their lack of faith. Let us resolve to make reverence and honour a distinguishing marker of our attitude to the living person of Jesus Christ, and in all that relates to the living of our Christian faith, let Jesus Christ be truly honoured and glorified.